Okay, can I just say that reel, those are just clips and short little edits from the entire hour-long podcast episode. So before you judge, I just want you to know that you have to listen to the entire episode to get context on any of this. The podcast episode is not a hit piece on WWE at all. I literally just speak my truth and speak about what happened, what went down, and how everything happened and what transpired. So before you judge and make assumptions, wait till Friday till you listen to the entire thing, because all I do is speak the truth and I want you to hear the truth, and don't listen to clips that you see on social media because they're just clips. Make sure you listen to the whole thing and then let me know what you think.
Salute wrestling friends and welcome to the Goodbread Wrestling channel, also known as the Figure 4 TV. And today, guys, we're going to talk about former WWE Superstar Carmella. She speaks out about her departure from WWE. So it's crazy, and I like Carmella. So before we go any further, I don't want y'all to think that this is a roast. I don't want y'all to think that that I'm hating or I hate women, because that's not what we're here to do today. Today we're going to hear her out because she wants us to listen to the whole video. And I want y'all to see how a lot of people want the participation award. This world is not about being equal, and it's about production. You got to produce. This world that we live in, guys, you got to produce. You got to be productive. It's not about everybody being equal. The world rewards those that produce, and a lot of people got it twisted, and we're going to see that today in her interview. So without any further ado, let's go on and get into that. It's kind of it's like a four-part interview. It's an hour long. So just sit back, kick back, and let's break this thing down from a logical standpoint, guys, right? From a logical. You see that thing right there? I got that thing right there for psychological studies. You know what I mean, guys? Not this. That's I didn't get that for wrestling. This is a wrestling channel, but I didn't get that for wrestling. But this is important today, guys. So let's get on into that.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Barely Famous Podcast. Today we have Leah Van Dale. She's formerly known as Carmella as part of the WWE. It all started when Leah was a dancer and cheerleader for the NFL and the NBA, and then she took the leap into the WWE, which is amazing. Leah's dad was a former pro wrestler who worked for the WWE, and so it's not really a surprise that she made this leap. I absolutely loved her character, Carmella, and she was with the WWE for 12 years, and we've been seeing all of your questions, all of your comments, and today we're going to get some insight from Leah herself about why her contract ended so abrupt. At some point, she decided she wanted to enter motherhood. Unfortunately, that meant lots of changes in other aspects of her life, and deciding whether she was going to continue to be a WWE wrestler or not, or maybe it wasn't even her decision. So let's get into it with Leah Van Dale. Welcome back to another episode of Barely Famous Podcast. Today we have Leah Van Dale, formerly known as Carmella or Mella. Welcome to Barely Famous.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I am a little bit nervous about this because this is the first time you're ever doing something like this.
Yes, it is.
And people who are familiar with WWE know you as Carmella.
Yes.
So you have been out of WWE for almost 2 years.
Yes.
But not by choice.
No.
So let's talk about it.
Sure.
And it started with you. One of all, let me backtrack. You were in the WWE for.
But hold up, Carmella. Hold up. That's the first one right there. It was by choice. Everything is by choice. We all get choices. And you chose to have a baby. Okay, your choice. But why would you say Nah. That's not cool right there.
Doing something like this.
Yes, it is.
And people who are familiar with WWE know you as Carmella.
Yes.
So you have been out of WWE for almost 2 years.
Yes.
But not by choice.
No.
So let's talk about it.
Sure.
And it started with you. First of all, let me backtrack. You were in the WWE for 12 years.
12 years, yes.
And
I
a part
signed in 2013, which is wild.
And we're in 2020. That's 12 years is a long time.
Yes, I was a baby. I just was 25, I think, when I first signed. It's so crazy how.
But first, you were a cheerleader and a dancer.
Yes.
But how do you make the leap from cheering and dancing to WWE?
Such a great question, because I don't know. I never in my life imagined I would end up in WWE. I was a dancer my whole life.
And that's important right there, guys. That's very important because y'all know how we know Carmella. We know Carmella soft with Enzo and Cass. That's our introduction to Carmella. She was paired with Enzo and Cass. Her father was a wrestler. So you see where the entitlement is coming in at. And this is what happened when people get things that they really don't deserve. When you give somebody something that they didn't have to really work for, they don't deserve it. Like Carmella should be grateful. She went from being a valet for Enzo and Cass to Money in the Bank, Women's Championships, and now she don't understand that she don't have real value. All those things they did for her. Right place, right time. She got to let it go. But let's get into it.
I cheered in the NFL and then the NBA, and it just kind of snowballed. My dad was a wrestler in the early 90s, so I was around it. I grew up watching it, but I never thought I would do it. And then this opportunity came. I had an agent for dance, and this opportunity came like to have a tryout with WWE, and I was like, whatever, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
And I tried out and I made it, and then the rest is just kind of history.
And you've won so many titles over the years and become a fan favorite, truly.
I mean, it's crazy. I never had any experience. I didn't wrestle before I got to WWE, and I feel like so blessed that in just a short period of time I made it to the top. I became champion. I made history and got to be a part of this huge women's evolution. And it was such a pivotal time for women in WWE, and I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of that.
No, truly, because I think women really changed the dynamic and the entire WWE industry. And I think that's really cool that you got to be a part of that.
It's really cool. It got to the point where it was like no longer a big deal that the women were doing all of these things. It was just like the norm. And that's what we wanted. And it's just such an awesome, awesome feeling.
Things start to take a turn about 10 years into the contract or 10 years into the franchise?
Sure. Well, not necessarily a turn. I just got pregnant.
Okay.
And not like a turn. It was like a great experience. I mean, I was so excited I always wanted to be a mom.
Yeah.
And I got pregnant and I was just so excited and everything was going according to plan. And then I had my baby, and I mean, literally the best thing that ever happened to me in my entire life. I'm still in love with this little boy. And unfortunately, when I had my son, I got an injury when I was giving birth. I was in labor for like what felt like a year. I went into the hospital on a Monday night and I didn't have him until Wednesday afternoon. And I was pushing for like 3 hours and having my legs up, and my nerve behind my knee was compressed for so long that I got what's called deep fibular nerve damage. So I couldn't really walk. The muscles that control the top of my foot were so damaged I couldn't walk for like weeks after I had my son. So it was scary.
No, that's terrifying. So, but how did the WWE react to you getting pregnant in the first place? They were fine, supportive,
yes,
the whole nine?
I mean, so many women, I mean, not so many women, but a handful of women have gotten pregnant while under contract, and basically they freeze your contract while you're pregnant. They pay you, which is so incredible. Like, they don't have to pay you when you're pregnant, and they paid me, and they've paid every woman that's been pregnant before under contract, and I'm so grateful for that. I will say I did offer to work when I was pregnant. I was like, please, like, I know I can't wrestle, but let me go on the road. I'll do backstage interviews. I'll do kick.
So wait a minute. They paid you and all? Man, you ain't got no argument in this. You ain't got no fight in this. And then you know why you offered to work while you were pregnant? Because you know you were skating on by, Carmella. You know, deep in your soul, you know you were skating on by, so you felt you needed to repay them because you know they took care of you, Carmella. They gave you things that nobody knew you'd accomplish. You think about it, you were the Liv Morgan. That same little run Liv Morgan just had, that was you, Carmella. Like, don't be ungrateful, Carmella.
Off shows.
Yeah.
I'll do panels. Like, let me
Yeah.
contribute, because I didn't want them to think like I'm just cool with sitting at home and getting paid and not working, right?
Yeah.
So, but they were like, no, like just stay at home. It's fine.
Yeah.
So I was like, fine, okay. So I did. I stayed at home, and yeah, they were really cool about it. And then usually what's happened in the past with women who've been pregnant under contract, they have their baby, they recover. I mean, as you know, every postpartum journey is so different, and I don't want to speak on anyone else's recovery. Mine was obviously a lot more difficult because of the nerve damage with my foot. But I was like, I let them know as soon as, like, I think the day that I had my son, I told the head of medical, by the way, I just want to let you know, this is what happened, this is what's going on. And I think for women, like women's health in general is just so I don't know the word, like overlooked. Like people don't talk about these things.
Yeah.
And so when I had the nerve damage, they were just like, it'll just resolve in like 4 to 6 weeks. It'll be fine. So then it's like,
your doctor said that?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, it'll be fine. It'll just take a little bit of time. I'm like, okay. Now like months and months are going by and it's not getting better. And so then I'm going for all these tests, seeing these specialists, and I've been in touch with WWE the entire way, like telling them what was going on and everything like that. And then, I mean, I guess fast forward until a few weeks ago, and then I got a call saying that my contract was up in 10 days. And basically what happened was, usually when you're injured, your contract is like on a pause.
Hold on though, Carmella. You got injured while you was on paternity leave. Like, that's not on WWE clock right there, Carmella. And that sounds like a hospital issue, not a WWE issue, man.
Okay.
So they take however long that the contract is paused, whether it's during pregnancy, postpartum, or just a regular old injury that you get in the ring. Your contract is paused for a certain amount of time. And then when you go back to work, however long it was paused for, they just kind of tack on to the end of your contract.
Okay, fair enough.
Right. And that's just kind of the impression that I was under. And then come to find out, the way it worked out was my contract was paused for 7 weeks after I had my son and then reinstated. So basically 7 weeks postpartum, my contract's reinstated, and I didn't know. Like nobody told me that I only had 7 weeks off after my son and that they were going to reinstate it. And then, I guess fast forwarded to it, because I basically had a year left on my contract when I got pregnant. So then when it was reinstated, January 1st, 2024 is when they decided, for whatever reason, they just like picked that date, and that's the date that it got reinstated. So then January to the following February, which is where we're at now, it's expired. And that was that.
So you let the WWE know that you were pregnant.
Yep.
And they were fine. They were supportive. You go to have your son and you got 7 weeks off.
But I didn't know that at the time.
Nobody said anything to you.
Nobody said that. So basically when I got pregnant, they sent me a letter and they said that like they gave me X amount of days off on my contract for being pregnant and then 7 weeks postpartum. So basically they anticipated how long it would take me to recover postpartum. And I'm assuming they give this number to all the women who get pregnant, right?
Okay.
But they said in this letter, like no matter what, when you return to wrestling, these dates will all change. So basically it's just kind of like a placeholder date and number and period of time that you have off. But when you return to wrestle, that's the date that we're actually going to take. And that contract would be frozen for that amount of time that you were out.
Okay.
So like say I was out for 300 days and they're like, okay, we're going to freeze your contract for 300 days. Or we're going to freeze your contract for whatever amount of time. But I was out for 300 days. They would, once I came back, they would add that 300 days back onto my contract, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense.
And so that was just the impression I was under, because that's how it's worked for other women in the past. And that's how it's worked if you're injured or anything. And again, every woman is so different. Like some girls have been out for 6 months postpartum. Some girls have been out for 14 months postpartum, 5 months, 8 months. It's just, of course, everyone's recovery is different.
Sure.
So it's not like they can put an exact timeline on when you're going to return. But I just was like completely shocked that they had only given me 7 weeks and then reinstated my contract.
But didn't tell you when they reinstated.
Didn't tell me. Yeah.
So at the point that you hit the 7-week mark postpartum,
No one said, hey, we're going to reinstate your contract.
so you didn't go back to work.
I didn't go back to work. I also was completely, I mean, you can barely ride a bike 7 weeks postpartum.
Oh no.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Never
yeah.
mind. Like, even if I was completely healthy and didn't have the nerve damage in my foot, there's no way I was returning 7 weeks postpartum.
I mean, you get cleared to work out and do regular things at 6 weeks.
If you're lucky.
If you're
right?
lucky.
And that's like light working out.
So at the point that they reinstated your contract, did you?
So wait a minute, Carmella. Suppose they needed you within that time frame because they had you booked on having a baby, because they do this for all of the women that have a baby. They have them and then they give them a grace period, and then they know when they could use them. And then if they can't use them in that period, then after that, if they can't use them. So how do you know that they couldn't use you when you was over here injured, Carmella? Like, I'm trying to get it from your understand. I'm trying to understand what you understanding. And this is, I'm a Carmella fan. Understand, this the Staten Island princess we talking about, and I'm a New Yorker. So this is my girl. But I'm trying to understand what, from where she's trying to see it. Like, Carmella, you think the WWE is supposed to wait for you? Because from where WWE was at when we had you on the roster to where we at right now, we can't wait for nobody, Carmella. Like, what is you talking about?
Did they know that you had the diagnosis that you had with the
Yes.
nerve damage?
Yes.
Okay. So they still brought you, they reinstated it knowing that you had nerve
Yeah.
damage. Okay.
And that's why I was also confused, because in the letter I was sent, it said like these dates and everything will change based.
But Carmella, it's not their fault you have nerve damage. It's not their fault. You're blaming them. You had nerve damage when they could have used you, and then now they can't. Now they don't need you. They don't need you, Carmella. Like, what's the problem?
based off of your like medical condition. So like I have a medical condition, and like I'm assuming they put that in there for any pregnant woman because you just don't know what'll happen.
Right.
So I was completely shocked. Like I had no idea. And then I got a phone call a few weeks ago just saying like, hey, we just want to let you know your contract's up in 12 days and we're not renewing it. And I was like, first of all, my husband and I were walking into a Nikki Glaser comedy show. Like we're in line to get a beer and we're like so excited to go watch the stand up.
Yeah.
Like the last thing on my mind is thinking about getting a call about my job. And I was completely blindsided. And I was just like, wait a minute, what? Like, I thought my contract was frozen because I'm injured. I had no idea, because usually when you're injured, your contract's frozen.
Right.
And it hurt. It really hurt. I was really upset and disappointed because I just felt like they knew about my injury. And I also was doing everything in my power to heal and get better. That same day that I got a phone call, I was at my spine specialist and my neurologist getting different tests and results and chatting about options and doing everything I can my foot is getting better. It's just not 100% yet. So I just was like, why am I going through all of this trouble to try to get better and try to get back to the ring if that wasn't the ultimate goal at the end? And the kicker is I actually offered to go back to work last summer.
Well, you tried to work while you were pregnant.
Exactly.
As well. So I just feel like it would be so much of a different story right now if they valued how hard you were willing to work and what you were willing to do for the company.
Exactly. I called them, I was maybe 7 or 8.
And it's that part right there, y'all. It's that part. It's that part. And the part is, everybody is working hard. Look around. Everybody is working hard. But this world don't pay working hard the same as they pay skilled work. Skilled labor get paid more than working hard. And we're in a society where so many people want things to be equal. They want it to be equal and fair, but life is not equal and life is not fair. Those who produce will be rewarded, and those who do not produce gonna get left behind. And this is what happened with you, Carmella. Love you like cooked food, but you never produced. They have producers now. They have women that produce. Carmella, be honest, did you see the segment this past Friday? Did you see that was a women's segment? That was the greatest women's segment on SmackDown in the history of the world wrestling entertainment. And it ain't even for a title. It ain't even for a title. We done moved on, Carmella. It's about skill now. It ain't about equal and oh, make sure she get and she get and she get when she and she and she don't all do and bring the same thing to the table. Come on, Carmella, you gotta wake up. Absolutely delusional.
8 months postpartum, and I reached out to like the head of the everything, and I was like, hey, I don't know, I wasn't even sure if he was aware that I had nerve damage, but I kind of laid everything out for him, and I was like, I can't wrestle, but I'd love to contribute any way I can. Here's my pitch. I had an idea of like working with this tag team and being a manager. I mean, Carmella is like a huge personality, and like I love like talking on the microphone, so like let me help another team out in the meantime, even though I can't wrestle, but let me just contribute. And like he loved the idea. He put me in touch with the head of creative and like, let's get it going. And I can't wait to see you is what he told me, literally point blank. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I was in touch with creative. They got medical clearance from my doctor, like my personal doctor, saying, yes, she can travel. She just can't wrestle. Cool. And then like radio silence. I haven't heard from anyone. That was like the end of July. I was in the middle of collaborating with them on this. And then I haven't heard anything from anyone.
So everyone just ghosted.
Completely ghosted. And it hurts because I feel like I have always been a company girl. I've always like done whatever it is they wanted me to do. I feel like I always represent the company in a professional way and do what's asked of me. I never like gone off script or done anything where I was like, oh shoot, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Like I always do everything that's asked of me. And it just feels like a shitty way to end a 12-year career with the company, like that this is how it ended.
That's a long time. There are people who don't stay with companies for 12 years.
No.
That's because they already rewarded you. That's how WWE do. They rewarded you. You see, when you won the Money in the Bank twice and you cashed in and you beat Charlotte, you beat Charlotte Flair to become the champion. That was your reward right there, man. That's called business. Now be a grown up, man. Let's be grown. Let's be a grown up for once, Carmella. Let's stop playing. Let's stop playing. They rewarded you already. Now you sitting up here crying.
Especially in the entertainment industry, because I feel like they're the turnover and you want the next best thing, but you've been the next best thing for all 12 years. Do you know what I mean?
It sucks. I feel like, is it because I'm a woman? Is it because I had a baby? And well, it is because I had a baby, like point blank. When I even spoke with, because like they wouldn't give me any answers on the phone either. I was like, well, why? Like what's happening? And they're like, this is just what we're going with right now. I'm like, I don't even think they said that. He was just like, I'll put you in touch with legal. And I'm like, legal? Like, I just want to know like why this is happening. Like, this doesn't feel right.
Like, you're a human being. You want real answers from a real person, not this robotic legal. And I get it. Everything is a liability, but also to be treated like a human being and a woman and someone who's dedicated 12 years of your life to this company.
All right, guys, don't go nowhere. There's more. Like I told you, there's a couple of parts to this thing right here. But Paul Carmella, I feel bad for her though. I feel bad for her, but this is business, and this is what happened. This is what business. This is what comes with business, guys. Understand? This is business. Carmella gotta understand that. Let's get to part 2. Y'all hit that like button. Salute Toxic Ring Scandals. My God. CeeLo, what's up? Mr. Approach, how you doing, man?
So when you're walking into the comedy show and you look at your husband and you are telling him about the call or you have it on speakerphone, how does he react? Because he's still with the WWE.
Still with the company. And that's also like what doesn't bother me that he's still with the company. Like, I'm so glad he has a job. I'm so glad he's still there, right? But he still has a job. We had a kid and he has a job, but I don't. Like, how is that fair? Well, you know what I mean? It's wild.
I'm thinking of, being a business owner myself. If one of my girls got pregnant and had an infant.
Dad, Carmella, you got a masculine mentality right there. That's your husband, and he got a job. You should be grateful for that. Like, you don't ever compete. Don't compete with your partner.
Injury, right? Related to the pregnancy or not.
Sure.
If they can't do the role that they were in before they got the injury, I'm going to find a place for them within the company that they can do.
Right.
Because I'm a girl's girl, and I recognize that at the end of the day, like, you're not just a number, you're not replaceable. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course I can have someone else fill the role, but it's not the same.
Right.
And I just feel like with your fan base and everything that you've brought, of course that's so hurtful.
It's so hurtful. And the fact that I went above and beyond and tried to go back. It's not like I was like, oh, I'm fine with, let me just sit at home and collect my paycheck and screw you guys. Like, I tried to go back. And for example, my husband, when years ago, he had gotten several concussions, he had to retire. They let him figure out another path. They let him try commentary, and he completely excelled at that. He's incredible. He's like one of, if not the best commentator WWE has. He's incredible. There's another guy a couple of years ago, Big E. He's a friend of mine. He broke his neck, unfortunately, in the ring, but he was given the opportunity to have another avenue to succeed.
Yeah.
Why wasn't I afforded that same opportunity? It's like, that's what I keep asking myself, because I feel like I have a lot to offer. I have a fan base. I represent the company.
Carmella, but you gotta think about WWE then and WWE now. You're comparing yourself in the era of WWE when you was on the main roster surrounded by other women trying to get over. Corey was in NXT, a developmental brand that was given to Triple H, hoping that he fell just so that Triple H could stop giving his input on the main roster. So Corey got in where he fit in. Triple H couldn't afford to get rid of anybody. He needed heads. So that's why Corey was able to go from a wrestler to a commentator, and he did commentating very, very well. He had the look, he had that modern look with the tattoos and all, and we were going into that era. So it's just great, right time, right place, right time for him. You can't compare yourself to your husband. Yes, that's two different situations.
Well, why wasn't I given an opportunity somewhere else when I've showed interest and shown that I wanted to contribute in any way that I could? And they didn't give me that opportunity. And is it because I'm a woman? And I don't want to keep saying these things, but I just feel like it is 2025, but we still have a long way to go with equality. I think, the women there are extremely underpaid compared to the men, and that's just.
And I hate to bring the wokeness in, because I know we come to wrestling to escape the reality, but it's all over. This the feminism right here. This is the feminism that tells them they can have it all and everything is equal, and it's not about equal opportunity, it's about the equal result. Like, we should be happy that we all get the equal opportunity, right? But she wants the same as everybody else without producing what everybody else produce, and that's not fair. But she would never see it like that, and women that look and think like her will never see it like that.
Just a fact. Everyone there knows it. The women working there know it, and they maybe can't say it because they're working. So let me say it. I'm going to say it and speak up for them because it's important. And there's some work to do, I feel like.
For those listening who are not familiar with WWE, there is you have to be able to act, right? Like, there's storylines and there's all kinds of things like that. When I don't want to say left, because you didn't leave. When your contract was frozen and you had your son, what was the storyline that you had just ended on?
Yeah, I was in, so basically it was right around the same time 2 years ago. It was Elimination Chamber. And I killed it in that match. I was super annoying. Carmella is so annoying. And I was just in that match, playing games with everyone and just being annoying and obnoxious. And actually I was factored into WrestleMania that year. I was supposed to be in a tag team with Chelsea Green. We were going in to, it was I think a 4-way. And she was supposed to be my tag team partner, or I was supposed to be her tag team partner. Yeah. And then unfortunately, or not unfortunately, circumstances changed and I got pregnant and I wasn't able to participate. But I was supposed to be in WrestleMania.
And it's okay. That's okay to you, right? You know how much work it takes for the company to put you in a storyline so that you can get on the WrestleMania card? Carmella, you playing, bro. You playing you playing games, man.
Mania that year.
So
I was in all the programs, and I felt bad. The girl that replaced me, it was like my picture in all the programs,
Aw.
not her.
I mean, it happens
Sure.
though, and you have to, as a company, WWE needed to be able to pivot when they needed to
Sure,
pivot.
exactly.
And so that part is what it is. So was any of your storyline? I can't remember.
Wow, do you hear the host? So that part is what it is, right? You could screw the company over, right? And cost the company thousands and millions of dollars. That part, it is what it is. But when the company get rid of you, now you get to cry about it and you get to blame the company, and that's not fair.
Because I do watch it with my kids
Sure,
sometimes.
sure.
But is your husband in WWE?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, like they acknowledge it for sure.
Okay.
And leading up to our wedding, we had like a big storyline where it was like I was in a tag team. I was actually a tag team champion with Zelina Vega, and like our entire storyline was like me just worrying so much about our wedding and not worrying about WrestleMania, and like my husband and I were like making out on TV, and like it was just so over the top and ridiculous, but it was fun.
But so I say all that to say that you could have done something with your husband while you couldn't be in the wrestling ring. And so there are definitely so many ideas that you could have done, especially with both of you guys being such a big name, and he was doing commentary for, he's doing it for NXT now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so originally doing it for WWE, and then, I mean, even
now, like I could have done backstage interview. Like it doesn't even need to be about me. Let me just contribute. Because like you're saying, when you're paying somebody and they're not able to do their job, like, okay, let's find something else. And it just would have been like, if there was some communication, like, hey, we know you're injured, you can't wrestle right now. Like, why don't you come back in a few months, or like when you feel better, like let's reopen or revisit the conversation. But like I wasn't even given a conversation. It was just like, boom, we're not renewing your contract. And like you have 10 days or 12 days to like figure out how to make money and like support my family. I was just like, I was so shocked that I didn't even really know what was happening. And again, we're at this comedy show, we're like in the concessions, and I'm like on the side just trying to like, what is happening? What? Like you're not, I was so confused by all of it. It was the last thing on my mind that something like that would happen. And I was just like, how is this happening? Like I thought my contract was frozen because I can't wrestle. Like I'm not able to wrestle. And basically what came back to with legal was like, at any point WWE can change their mind. So they can decide to extend your contract based off of when you're injured, or they can not extend it. And they, in my case, for whatever reason, decided not to extend it. I don't know why. There's no rhyme or reason. And it just is what it is.
How does that change the dynamic between you and your husband now? Because he is still part of WWE, NXT.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't change it at all. Like listen, I'm not sitting here, I don't want to like be speaking poorly about WWE. Like I had such a great experience there. I loved working there. It was 12 years of my life. I met my best friends. I met my husband there. Like I traveled the world and created the best fan base and the crew, everyone top to bottom. I just loved working there. And that doesn't change. Like my husband loves this business. He loves wrestling. Like this is what he always wanted to do, and he's living his dream. And I fully support that. And it doesn't change it at all. Like we still talk about it. We still talk.
I'll call cap on that, Carmella. And I'm gonna tell you something, Carmella. Believe it or not, his attitude and him being sassy got you got. If you think about it, they got you. They released you about 2 weeks or a week after he pulled his little stunt. After he pulled this little no call, no show stunt, being jealous of Pat McAfee, that's when they just they'd be damned if they have two disgruntled, two entitled couples, a couple working for them. That's crazy. So I think he and his attitude sealed your fate, and that's what needs to be addressed.
Talk about storylines or whatever's happening on TV. And my girlfriend's like Natty and Bailey. They're like my two best friends. I talk to them every day, and I'm not gonna like not support them or you know what I mean? I feel like, that was my life for so long, and now it's not, but it doesn't change anything.
Does it feel bittersweet though that all of your people are still there?
It does, but I also feel like this is the path that I'm meant to be on right now. I feel like I'm a huge believer in like everything happening for a reason.
Right.
So if this wasn't happening right now, like it's going to lead me to a different path. And as much as I wanted to prove not only to myself, to my son, to my coworkers, to my female fan base, like you can have a baby and like still kick ass and still go back to work. Like that's what I really wanted to do. And unfortunately, I'm not able to do that anymore. But I'm going to pivot and like this is the next chapter of my life and whatever's.
But you are able to do that, just not with the WWE. And it's not the WWE fault. That is the nature of the WWE business. Now you can be a mom and a strong hard worker somewhere else. You can do that though. It's possible. And I'm not knocking you if that's what you want to do. But just understand you can't do that in the WWE, and it's not the WWE fault.
Meant to happen will happen. And I feel like something amazing is going to come from this. I don't know what it is right now. It's all still so fresh.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I'm excited to see what's next for Leah. Like for so long, it's like, oh, Carmella. And it's like, no, I can now fully be Leah and like do what I want to do. And I don't know what that is. It's like, what do I like to do? I don't know. Like, this is all I did for so long. But I think it's time. It's like time to figure out what's next.
Well, you could definitely write a book.
I could write a book.
You also have Snatch. Let's talk about it.
Sure.
So I did get some information on it. I pulled up the website. We're going to link it in the description. What inspired Snatch and what is Snatch?
So Snatch is a platform that I created for women. I had a miscarriage, 2 miscarriages actually, before I got pregnant with my son. And I didn't know anyone that had a miscarriage. And I was like, what is happening? Like, why is this happening to me? I had an ectopic pregnancy, which is so dangerous. For those who don't know, it's like when the baby is like growing in your fallopian tube and it can like burst. A lot of women bleed to death and die like when this happens. So I decided to talk about it because I felt like if it was happening to me, there was like I felt such shame and I was alone during this time. And I was like, I'm just going to share this and let other women know like, hey, if this is happening to you, you're not alone. You didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And so when I did that, I just felt like it opened the floodgates for this conversation. So like my girlfriends who had miscarriages had never even told anyone. They're like, oh my God, you're making me feel better about the one I had. And I'm like, oh my God, like, why wouldn't you talk about this? You know, like you shouldn't feel like ashamed.
Right.
So then when I got pregnant with my son, I was like, okay, there's something here. Like we need to like get these conversations going. And that's why I created Snatch, which is like the most ridiculous name. And people are like, do you know what that means? I'm like, obviously I know what Snatch means, right? But like, that's the whole point, to get people talking and to be like bold in your face. Let's talk about it. Let's have the conversations that, you know, women aren't having. Like, I'm going to try to facilitate that.
Man, yo, it's crazy. So it's just a group of women that just be fighting God, because that's what it all come down to. And since we already here, so since we so deep into the truth about this topic and this situation, y'all know how Corey Graves and Carmella got together, right? Y'all do know that scandal of a situation. So karma is real. You know what I mean? Karma is real. Similar to Bray Wyatt's situation. Rest in peace to Bray Wyatt, the eater of worlds. But we all know his situation. And adultery is real. And we just don't know what's the price, what's the penalty for adultery. But we know you ain't gonna get blessed. There's no blessing coming from there. I don't mean to spook y'all, but it's real.
And so it's basically like a private forum where women can go and chat with each other and ask questions. I have a lot of guest speakers and experts on different topics, whether it's like fertility and IVF or postpartum depression or just like topics that I feel like women are so uninformed on until you become a mom, as I'm sure you know, it's like you don't know what you don't know. And then when it's happening, you're like, oh my God, how come nobody told me about this? Or why didn't I know about that?
Yeah.
And so that's what Snatch is all about.
Well, I'm glad that you did that because I've had 4 losses.
Oh my gosh.
And
I'm so sorry.
when I opened the website and I saw,
Man, yo. Man, y'all know the host is the lady from she was popular back in the days when they had them teen moms, the pack moms. Remember that reality show that they had? That's where the host is from. So y'all heard her? A demon, y'all. She a demon, yo. She had 4. She had 4, yo. That's yo, man, yo. You can't make this up.
Thought it was like, wow, this is amazing, and I think that more people should know about it. And to your point, I mean, I didn't really talk about my miscarriages or anything like that, because what do you, if someone else hasn't related, how can they comfort you?
Right,
But when
right.
you're talking to other women who've experienced the same thing, you feel a different sort of connection and comfort.
Right.
And so I think that's really great. Were the women in WWE supportive?
Yes, very, very supportive. And like, it's crazy that the community it's created, and that's just more than anything what I wanted to do is create a community. And like yesterday, this girl that from where I grew up messaged me because she thinks she's having an ectopic pregnancy, and she's like, tell me about this, or how did it, and I'm like, oh my God, like, thank God you're at least like reaching out to me, because what if I never created this? What if you didn't know about this? Like, how would you even know to ask questions or go to your doctor and find out what's going on? So I just think it's so important to have these conversations as women.
No, it totally is. And I'm sure Corey is, that's not his real name.
Matt.
Can I say his?
You could say Matt.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what to.
I know, it's so confusing.
Who told me there's like a name for like having to stay in character.
Kayfabe.
What is it called?
Kayfabe.
Kayfabe. I want to make sure I don't break anyone's characters.
Sure. No, and you're not.
Okay.
This is real life.
Okay. So, and what was Matt's reaction to you starting Snatch?
He's so supportive of it. I mean, he is, I'm going to go off about him, but he's just incredible. Like, even when all of this stuff went down a couple of weeks ago, he was sitting, because I was sitting there like doubting myself. Like, what if this is the end of my career? Like, what am I doing with my life? What do I have to offer? And he was like shaking. He's like, babe, what do you mean? Like, this is not the end all be all. Like, you have so much to offer. And like, I'm so grateful for him in times like that, he's so supportive, and he's so supportive with Snatch, and he's the best. I'm gonna cry. I just love him so much. I'm so grateful for him.
Boy, Corey a softie, Corey a boo-boo. Corey better stop simping, and he better start putting his foot down and really helping Carmella, man. Carmella trying to work extra hard. Why is you trying to work extra hard? Because Corey not the one. Corey not the one, boy. You'll take Corey right now, but why are you working extra hard for?
Change their mind. I did not realize this happened a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I thought this was like last year, and you've been like, keep it. So this is fresh.
This is so fresh. Yeah. I haven't even been out of my contract it's been a week now. So it's all very fresh. It's crazy. And
do you think they could change their mind? Right?
But why would you want to be somewhere that doesn't want you?
Not after this interview. They're definitely not going to change their mind now. You just shot yourself in the foot with this whole interview. That was wrong with you, Carmella. And you didn't control your emotions.
It's like when you're in a relationship and someone's trying to break up with you, and you're like, no, don't leave me. Like, I promise. Like, it's like, no, like, you're not wanted in that relationship anymore. See you later. Like, that's not for me. And I truly feel like that door is closed. I'm not saying forever. It's not like Carmella may never make another appearance. Like, I think that would be great to eventually put my Jordans back on and moonwalk back out there and be in front of the fans. Like, I think someday it will. But right now, it's just not for me. Right now, it's like, universe's way of telling me there's something else for you, and I'm excited for that.
Maybe it's with Snatch. Maybe you're gonna turn that into just like a worldwide making people aware of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's kind of why I wanted to have this conversation today. I feel like I've been so transparent about my journey with my miscarriages and my pregnancy and my postpartum journey. It's like, I want to be open and honest about this. And again, I'm not sitting here trying to disparage WWE, but I want to be real and honest, because it's 2025 and we still have a long way to go for women and moms and pregnancy and health and all of it. I feel like this conversation needs to be had, because I mean, shit, I had a baby and now I'm not working anymore.
Right.
Like, and that sucks. Right. That's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm being punished because I had a baby, and I wouldn't change a damn thing. I'm obsessed with myself. I'm like, this is my life. And so I would do it a million times over again. but it's just the reality of the situation.
If you could suggest improvements, where do you think they would be, specifically for, you know, the WWE and what happened to you throughout this whole process, the lack of communication, feeling like this is an attack on your womanhood, your motherhood, you know, and what value you bring. So where would you suggest the improvements? Like, where do we start with change?
I think communication, for sure. There needs to be more communication, and there needs to be something that's put in place for moms in this workspace. And what that
We take what we want, and after we take Lex Luger in the job, we want the gold, sucker. Hulk Hogan, we coming for you, nigga.
Impossible, yo. No, she ain't say that. I know she. Tell me she did not just say that. So, so now you want a babysitters club in the WWE. So now, now how entitled are you trying to be today, Carmella? Staten Island princess. Y'all heard what she said, y'all? Goodbread, y'all heard what she said?
that looks like, I don't know. But I feel like as an athlete, you should be able to have children and still have a career. Like,
Yeah.
it should be possible. And like, there are
It is possible. Not in the WWE, Carmella. You could do all of that, just not in the E.
other women who have done it in WWE. There's been a few, not a lot. But I think me sharing this, hopefully for any other woman who's
Yeah.
in that locker room right now contemplating having a baby, but still wants their career, just got to be careful because you just don't know.
What do you say to the women who are thinking about it? Because at this point, I would look at this. If I was in the WWE, if I was in the company and I saw this happen to you, I would have to think twice about whether or not I could start my motherhood journey.
Yeah, and I would agree. And
So
that's too bad. And again, there are other women who have had babies and gone back, but they also didn't get injured. And I did get injured during childbirth, and that is unfortunate. But
at least you know. And you got injured due to the hospital because you took that shot in the back to ease the labor pains that, again, going back to God, told y'all couldn't run from. But y'all get there and y'all try to run from them labor pains, so y'all let them stick y'all in the back. And that's very dangerous. That's where all the nerves, that's your nerve central right there. And now you got stuck in the back. Now your foot don't work. Your feet nerves is bad. And now you want to blame WWE. And you know why. You know why you different from Becky. You know why you different from Alexa. They were not injured. They did not get shot in the back and got injured off the shot. Sound like you need to sue the hospital, girl. You need to sue the hospital. But you signed that waiver. See, a lot of the women, they signed that waiver form and they be thirsty for that little drug. They be thirsty for that little drug, boy.
it is the reality, and it happens. And I just feel like people don't talk about, again, they don't talk about these things. Like, we don't realize you can get hurt giving birth. And while, knock on wood, I'm going to be okay and I'm recovering, it's still very real, and it's what happened. And that's, again, why I feel like hurt that there's no other avenue for me, or no other path. Like, no, we only want you as a wrestler, and you can't be as a wrestler, so you're no good to us, you know?
yeah, which feels really unfair.
Yeah,
and
it does.
Just as a human being, it's like you feel helpless.
Yeah.
When you realized that something was very wrong, can you walk us through the journey of realizing that something was wrong with the nerves and after birth?
Yeah, so I got an epidural. I was in labor for so long. I was like, give me this.
There you go. There you go, y'all. There you go. At least she know. She's being very honest and open.
Nerves and after birth.
Yeah, so I got an epidural. I was in labor for so long. I was like, give me this damn epidural. And after I had my son, I was like, this weird, like, tingling, numbing feeling in my right leg and foot. And they're like, oh, it's probably just from the epidural. It's going to wear off. And then I got up because you have to go to the bathroom after you have your, and I'm like, I like fell over. I couldn't walk. And I was like, oh my God, this is not okay. And then a few days go by, and then I'm getting discharged from the hospital, and they said, okay, just, so I said, hey, listen, like, my leg doesn't feel normal. I can barely walk to the bathroom. And they're like, just give it, like I said, a few weeks. And then weeks went by and nothing. And it got to the point where I was at my 6-week checkup and it still wasn't better. They're like, okay, we'll give it 8 to 10 weeks. And I'm just like, this feels weird. It just felt off. Like, this isn't right. And now I'm at like almost 3 months and I'm going to see the chiropractor, my acupuncturist. I'm like trying to do whatever I can in the meantime. And finally I had to go to my primary care and not my OB. I was like, I don't know what's going on. So she sent me to get an MRI. And then basically, because of years of wrestling, I have like crazy like slip discs and things in my back. So they just attributed that to my foot. So then they were treating my foot as though it was coming from my back.
But that would also be where the epidural goes, right?
It wasn't. It was like the L4, L5. I
Okay.
don't even know where the epidural, like, and then of course anesthesiologists, they were like not taking my, like, no, it was not us. And I was like, okay. It was just like, I kept getting the runaround from everyone.
Right.
And like the way they were treating my nerve damage in my leg was as if it was coming from my back. So then I was going through physical therapy for like months and it wasn't getting better. And then finally they sent me to a spine specialist and the spine specialist was like, no, that's not coming from your back. That's coming from your leg. So it was just like this huge runaround where I just feel like everyone was giving me, like pointing the finger at somebody else. And finally, when I saw the spine specialist, and again, I didn't get to see her till September. I had my son in November. I didn't get to see her till the following September because of the runaround. And then I wanted to see someone good. So then of course it takes like months to get in. And finally, when she sent me for an MRI and realized like it's not from my back, it's coming, I had to get an EMG, all this nerve testing, and coming to find out it was from the back of my knee from pushing.
So is that a lawsuit to the hospital then?
No, it's just, it happens.
You're better than me. Everybody's getting sued if it was me. So you're better than me.
I just feel like
And again, I feel she can't sue the hospital because she signed the waiver, right? They make sure you sign that waiver before they stick you. So this is why she knows she's so passive when it comes to suing the hospital.
end of the day, like, I just don't want to deal with all of the bullshit. I just want to get better.
You're like, I want to go back to work and get better.
Yes, that's it. I just wanted to get better. And having a son, and like, I'm an athlete, like to not be able to like run and work out the way I want to and like jump, like I can get by everyday life, normal life, fine. It's not a big deal. I'm wearing boots with heels. It's okay. But like to get back into like full, like what I've always done, I can't right now. And that sucks. It's unfortunate. So
what do you tell, you have a blended family with Matt. What do you tell the kids? Like, do you just say, can't run around with you guys today? I mean, like I said, my everyday life is normal. It's just like to get back into like that that hardcore like training regimen and like doing things the way I would like to do them. I just can't. But I can play with the kids and we still dance and do stupid, silly TikToks and things like that. But it's just like getting back into like that crazy training that I would love to be able to do. I just can't do that right now. And that is necessary for WWE. Yeah. What does that look like? What is like a regimen for someone in WWE? To get your cardio up, like there's nothing that can prepare you for cardio in the wrestling ring. Like you can sprint, you can do like condition, like nothing prepares you other than getting in that ring and like running the ropes and do like, there's so many different conditioning drills that you would do. I'd have to be down there for at least like, I say down there, we have a training facility in Orlando. So I would have to be there for like well over a month, like really getting my, like, and you can be aesthetically look great, but cardio wise, you have to get it up. So it's more for like actually endurance, being able, to be able to keep up, not because they want you to look a certain way, but I'm sure they also want you to look a certain way. I mean, you have to like, well, within like, I mean, Carmella, she's like a bad bitch. Yeah, so like, I have to like serve, honey. Leah is a bad bitch too. Leah is too. So yes, thank you. We actually we went to Disney in October. We saw, don't catch me lying on his name, Solo Sikoa. Oh, yes. Yep. Freaking out. The kids were freaking out. And I was like, shh. He was great in Orlando though. No, he was really sweet. He was great. Yeah. But so you can't do like the hardcore endurance stuff, but so then how do you keep up with just regular keeping Leah well on a day-to-day basis now? Yeah, I feel like I try to do Pilates. That's kind of like my go-to. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel strong. And I mean, running after a 15-month-old, that'll keep you in shape. I think we have kids that are roughly the same age. Do we? Well, my twins are 16 months. Oh, okay. So that around the same time. Twins, girl. Twins they're crazy. Although my twins are not walking yet. So
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
one of them is sort of walking. So I'm not. But then I had Rio, who was 11 months older. So they're like Irish triplets.
Okay. Oh my
So I keep up
gosh.
with him. I don't think that I could ever keep up with a WWE workout plan, regimen, any of that. So kudos to you. So will you still go support any of the shows? Like, well,
I don't know. I mean, never say never.
Yeah.
I feel like, again, I want to support my husband, support my friends.
Yeah.
And again, never say never.
what would you say to any of your kids that wanted to join WWE or NXT or any of the?
Oh my goodness. I would say make sure that you have thick skin if that's what you want to do, because it's a lot, and you're going to take a lot of crap and being in the public eye. Like, I know even sitting here right now, there's people are going to have something to say about this, and I'm just speaking my truth, but there people are going to be having something to say, and that's just the nature of that business, entertainment in general.
Right.
You're not going to make everyone happy, and you got to make sure you really love it, because you're going to get a lot of shit.
Did people give you shit about getting pregnant while you're under contract?
Yeah, of course. Oh, look at her just sitting at home, getting pregnant, like staying pregnant and making money. And it's like, listen, I'm a woman. I want to have children, and I would like to also have a career. And I think that's fair. And I'm now 37. At the time I was 35. Like, time wasn't on my side. I didn't want to wait until my contract was up. Again, I had trouble getting pregnant in the first place. So I didn't want to risk like not being able to wait till my contract's up when I'm 37 and then try. Like, I was scared. I wanted to make sure that I would be able to be a mom.
Right.
And I think that's fair. I feel like you can be an athlete. You can still be a mom. You can do it all. You don't have to fit into one box. And I just think, people are going to have something to say no matter what.
No matter what.
This is my life, and my son is very real, and it's like, that's what matters.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. And men don't have to think about giving up their career to become a parent the same way that women do.
They don't.
And that's just in and of itself is heartbreaking, because I mean, you think about, we were just talking internally about, one of our girls, wants to try to have a baby this year. And I said, great. And we're going to fill her role until she gets back. And if she chooses not to come back, that's her prerogative.
Right.
But the fact that women have to think about whether or not they're going to be able to keep their career if they're in a place to, decide, do they stay at home or do they not?
Right.
I mean, you wanted to have both.
I did.
And there's no reason why you can't. So I think it's really heartbreaking that they, and I know this isn't to, talk shit about the WWE or anything, but maybe this would help open their eyes to the situation, and you didn't have to choose between being a mom, and whether you were injured or not, there is a place for you.
Right.
So I just think that's, heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. And that's what I was saying. Like, my husband, his job hasn't changed. He's going to work every week, and he has 5 or 4 kids. I'm like, wait, how many does he have? I'm getting out of control. I have 3 step kids and my son. So it's like, to have 4 kids, and he still has a job and he's working. And again, very grateful for that.
Of course.
But it's just, nothing about his life has changed. And it's just the reality. That's the world we're in. And again, you think like we've come so far as a society, but it's 2025 and these things are still happening. And I wish more for women in general, and moms, and especially athletes. I feel like you shouldn't have to choose one. Like, why can't you have both?
No, all things can be true. All of it, and I don't know. I just feel like if I could write a letter to them.
But again, you know what? And it is what it is. Like, this is the journey I'm on right now. And it's not talking shit on WWE. This is just what happened. And again, I want to be open and honest about it, because I feel like it's my duty. I've been honest about this entire process, and I want to be open and honest for other women in the future. But this is the path I'm on, and like, it's not for me right now. It's something else is coming, and it's like, I'm feeling it. It's coming my way. I'm like putting it out there. Something good is coming my way. And again, I'm excited for it. Like, why would you want to be somewhere that doesn't want you?
And actually, just listen to that. I'm listening to Mel Robbins' book, Let Them.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's covering different aspects of the Let Them theory. And one of the pieces of that was like, you don't want to be somewhere that you're not wanted. So let them not invite you. Let them not include you. Let them not re-sign your contract in your case. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, I think that it's just like what you do with it, how you react to it. And I think, you telling your story and you telling your truth, you're always going to have your fan base, your diehards, and your family, of course. So
Yeah, and I'm so grateful for that.
Absolutely. And I'm excited to see what you do with Snatch too, because I think that that was the first time I had heard of it, was when I agreed to do this interview. And I was like, yeah, I would love this. I got on the website and I thought it was really cool. And I actually just had an interview with a woman who, she had a stillborn. And so she's connected with a lot of women for miscarriage and stillborns and things like that. And so just women who are going down that journey, this will be a really good place for them to sort of have a sense of community.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love that. So what was the deciding factor for you in wanting to speak up about this? Because I know that from what I know, I don't know, but from what I know, the WWE kind of has like a tight leash on what can be said and, how you use the name and things like that. So did you ever think like, maybe I shouldn't talk about it at all?
No, that was never an option for me, because I feel like it's so important to speak up on this. As a mom, I have 2 stepdaughters. I have a platform where I have a lot of female followers and female fans from over the years. I need to speak up on this, because if I don't, it's going to happen again. Maybe not in WWE, but maybe somewhere else. And if this can help one company or one woman like fight for herself or her career, then I'm so proud of that. I think it's so important to speak openly. Like other women, we need a champion for each other and rally around each other. And I feel like if I didn't speak up, then like I was getting so many questions like, why aren't you resigning? Why didn't you go back? You just want to be a mom. Like what?
And see, that's the problem. You want everything to be equal and life not equal. If you do not produce the same, then you're not going to get the same. It's about what you produce. And you can't just try to make everything even and play nice. It's not about being liked. It's about being successful, Carmella.
First of all, there's nothing wrong with just being a mom.
Yeah,
number 1. And number 2, that wasn't the truth. Like I felt like I needed to address this once and for all, and to say like, it wasn't up to me. This isn't my choice. Like this is what they decided, and it's the truth. And there's never any harm in speaking your truth.
All right, guys, we going into the final chapter of this. And man, I'm surprised at Carmella, man. I thought Carmella was better than this. This is ultimate entitled.
I don't really like posts on the TikTok.
Okay. And I hope that you don't get any backlash for that, because that is the truth. I hate that, because I saw your story the other day. I think it was on your Instagram. Do you have TikTok?
I don't really like posts on the TikTok.
Okay, so Instagram. Yeah, okay. So it must have been on there, and you were talking about how you were going to come on a podcast and you were going to share your truth and stuff. And I could imagine that your DMs were flooded at that point, wondering what is going on. I told you before.
Okay, can I just say that reel, those are just clips and short little edits from the entire hour-long podcast episode. So before you judge, I just want you to know that you have to listen to the entire episode to get context on any of this. The podcast episode is not a hit piece on WWE at all. I literally just speak my truth and speak about what happened, what went down, and how everything happened and what transpired. So before you judge and make assumptions, wait till Friday till you listen to the entire thing, because all I do is speak the truth, and I want you to hear the truth. And don't listen to clips that you see on social media, because they're just clips. Make sure you listen to the whole thing, and then let me know what you think.
Recording that I went to WrestleMania with my kids last year, and the following that is WWE, I have never in my entire life seen anything like it. It's I mean, insane. We're talking the walks of life from
grandparents to babies, like
shapes and colors from everywhere. People next to me flew in from Ireland. I was shook. I could not believe my eyes. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. And that's something that you have for life.
For life. Like, I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of that for 12 years. Like I traveled all over the world, like any country you can imagine. I've been there and with our fans. And I feel so blessed that I got to do that for so long.
That is so cool. I think I saw also, is Charlotte Flair a female wrestler? Was, or she was,
Yep.
I saw her at an airport one time.
Okay.
Yeah. So I only know a little bit from what my
Sure.
kids.
Yeah.
And then I think the only other mom that I was aware of in WWE was Becky Lynch.
Becky, yep.
And then,
So it's Becky Ronda Rousey. She had a baby under contract.
is she still under?
She's not anymore.
Okay.
She was.
Okay. And then
she had a
Nikki
baby, and then Nikki and Brie were not with WWE when they had their kids.
Got it.
And then there's Alexa Bliss. She actually just returned. She had a baby 2 weeks after I did, and she just came back a few weeks ago. So,
is that hard to watch?
Yeah, it was at first, but when she came back, I didn't know that I wasn't ever returning. So when I was watching her, I was just like, I texted her right away. I was like, oh my God, that was, because she came back, she got such a great reaction. And like the fans were so excited to see her. And I was like, hell yeah. I'm like, you show them, like, you can be gone for however long and come back. And the kid, like the crowd is still going to be like, they were erupting for her. And I was like, so happy for her. And I was like, I can't wait to do that. And then
But I mean, Nikki came back, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not the same.
Sure.
But there was room for her to come back.
Yeah. And that's true. Like, that's why I'm saying, like, never say never.
Right.
Like, in the future, maybe.
Yeah. Don't be a hypocrite like me. I said I would never go back to Teen Mom. And then I made a cameo. So, yeah. So I already asked you, but just for like a clear answer, what would you like to see for mothers moving forward, specifically in WWE and athletes across the board?
I think moving forward as moms, I feel like I would like more support, like backstage for these moms. Because it's like, even if I were to go back, I would have had to leave my son at home with my mom and like travel for 2 days and then come back home. Mm-hmm. Like, something put in place where women are able to bring their kids to work and have them be there and like be in a safe space and not have to worry about like putting them in a hotel with, you know, a nanny or something.
Right.
Like make it, because this isn't a normal job. This isn't like going to like bringing your baby to the desk every day at work. This is like, you have to travel all over the world.
So now, because you can't live up to the rules, you gonna change the rules. You just want to change the rules now. That's not fair, Carmella. Come on now, girl.
So some sort of more support for the moms backstage. And then just athletes in general, just in a perfect world, not having to choose career or mom.
I think that it's really important that you just noted that this isn't a regular job, right? Yeah. And I'm not using the word regular to be disrespectful.
Sure.
But this isn't a 9 to 5.
Right.
And so when people hear that, I don't want them to misinterpret what you're trying to say, because I think there should be more.
It don't have to be a 9 to 5. When you sign your name to the contract, right? Don't be so thirsty and actually read that handbook. Read that employee handbook, because there's some things in that handbook that covers the company. And you go signing right there because you being thirsty and you being happy and excited. And then you want to change the rules of the contract that you signed to. That's not fair. Come on, Carmella.
More support across the board for moms in general.
Yes.
But this is not a typical office job. You're not a teacher. This is very special circumstances. And I think in order to make everybody happy, but also to include moms in the storylines and to have women as part of the storylines is so important for WWE in and of itself, that it is important to have support there. Last year I had Becky Lynch on the podcast, and her kids were in the hotel room, and she travels with them, but I don't think that that's always realistic to leave them in maybe for her, great, love that for her, but that's not for everybody. And so, making sure that you have a space to bring and travel with your kids, because if you are in another country for days or weeks on end, you have to, have the support there, and you want to do both. So why can't there be support for women to do both?
Right. Especially, and that's what I'm saying, that the circumstances are a little different as an athlete, because you're traveling so much, you're on the road, you're in stadiums, it's just a different atmosphere. And there just needs to be more balance, I think, between work and mom, and like being able to do both.
Maybe we can be the HR for moms in WWE.
Yeah,
like you and I team up and we go in there and we're like, hey, here's what we see for WWE and all these other like athletic places
Right.
or entertainment. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe that's what we're implementing here.
What's good in the hood?
Just holding it down, trying to take care of business.
Keep it up, I'm a nigga.
That lady a fool, man. She a fool.
Sometimes on the podcast, we talk about the mental load of women and how men's lives don't necessarily change the same way that women's do. And we briefly touched on that. But I think that it's, just important to highlight that men don't have to think about any of this, right? Like they don't, and that's no disrespect to Matt,
Sure.
right? Like that's no disrespect to Elijah. But at the end of the day, they're not having to think about choosing between anything.
Yeah.
Travel and career, or an injury, or birthing a child in the first place. It's
Yeah.
like you had to think about it. You thought you could have both, your career and your and being a mom, but you didn't even have to think about the fact, like you did have to think about, what if something happens to me?
Right.
And men don't really have to think about it because they're men.
Right. I mean, and not only was I having all of these thoughts, and the mental load, like you're saying, was crazy, and dealing with postpartum in and of itself is just like
A nightmare.
men will never understand. And again, not like they can, but like it's just.
And again, this is why don't go seek counsel from single women, y'all, ladies. Don't, ladies, especially my ladies in a relationship, don't go seeking counsel from single women. This woman sitting there giving her advice that you give to a single woman. This woman got a whole husband who still work for the company. And she's sitting here agitating, trying to get her to hate on men. Like, this ain't got nothing to do with a man. This got everything to do with your choice and your decision.
They'll never get it. But like on top of it, having to feel like I was trying to get myself back into the best shape I possibly could, because I didn't want to be like, oh, I had a baby and then my body changed and I can't go back and be Carmella and do things the way I wanted to do them. So on top of all of it, it's like trying to get in the gym and try to make it while dealing with an injury. But like, what if they call me and want to bring me back for something? I need to make sure I'm ready. I can't just like show up and not have to look like I just had a baby, even though I just had a baby. You know, it's like this crazy mindset that you have to be in to like, and like, you shouldn't have to look like you didn't have a baby. Like,
well, that's what society says.
Bodies are so incredible.
Wait a minute, Carmella. So you want to come back to the E, busted and disgusted, and you think you're going to sell Mella is Money t-shirts looking crazy? What is it? What kind of work do you want to do? What is the work you do want to put in, Carmella? Because this is entitled right now. You sounding real selfish and foolish, girl. Real selfish and foolish.
That they do what they do. And yeah, like you're saying, like society, it's like the snapback culture is just like, or bounce back or whatever they call it. Like, why do you need to bounce back or snap back? Like, you just had a baby. Give yourself grace and time. But like the whole time I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I have to make sure I'm like getting back in shape and dieting and this and that, and it's like breastfeeding and not sleeping. Like, it's just so much that, again, my husband didn't have to think about that.
No,
he's just eating his pizza, drinking his beer, and living his best life. And I'm over here like milking myself. And like...
Corey, run for your life, Corey. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Run far.
But I mean, it is what it is, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, make sure you're fit. Make sure you're breastfeeding. Don't do formula.
No, God,
but be a mom, because your time is ticking. But then also you have a career. Don't you want to have a career?
Right.
And then also make sure you look the part. But you also have kids, and you can't work because you have to be with the kids, and you're not allowed to be away from the kids.
Right.
And so,
I mean, it's insane. Like, it's fucking insane when you think about it.
So when you guys were both, working and things like that, did you have to work at different times so that somebody could stay with the kids, or did you both go to every place together?
We traveled together.
Okay.
So my husband has 50-50 custody. So we would get his kids Friday through Monday, or it just depended on the week, whether we had a pay-per-view or whatever that happened.
Sure.
Whatever that looked like. So we would travel together, then come home, get the kids, and then it's like full on, like right into like parent mode. And then as if we weren't just wherever we were last night. And it's just funny. But now I just feel like I've been in such mom mode for so long. I don't even know, like, say I like did my makeup and like got a spray tan. I'm like, who is she? Like, I don't recognize her. I'm not used to it. So it's just funny to like not be in that mode for so long.
For sure. So what's next for Leah? Not Carmella, not Mella, not WWE. What is next for Leah?
That's such a good question. I feel like, I mean, perfect world. I would love to I love being in front of the camera. I love like being over the top, a little annoying, obnoxious. So like it worked well for Carmella. I don't know how well it'll work for Leah, but we will see about that. I think maybe like getting to some hosting space or, I mean, dream job.
Yeah, dream job.
Roxy Hart in Chicago on Broadway. Like,
would you do it?
I would die.
Okay, so do it.
Oh my God, could you imagine?
Yes, I can. Yes. Are you kidding me?
I would die.
You better call your agent when you leave here. You're like on the way to the airport and you got to call your agent. Like,
I'm in Philly. I'm like, I can meet you in New York right now.
3 hours. Just give me 3 hours. I think that would be cool if you did Broadway.
That would be like dream job. Like,
no, I can see it.
I love like that. When I was a kid, I'd go to the Rockettes all the time. Like, the holidays, and I would sit there, Radio City, and like in the bathroom, and I'd tell my mom like, someday I'm gonna be here.
Well, I mean, it's not completely out of the question.
I mean, I would die to do
Trisha
that.
Paytas has done it.
Yeah.
Joanna Levesque. She did Broadway. You could totally do Broadway.
I mean, you think?
Do it. Yes. I'll call myself. I'm like, hold on.
Put in a good word.
Leah Vandale is on her way. Okay. Yeah. So Broadway and momming, of course.
And being a mom. Like truly, I feel so grateful because this, at the end of the day, has been the greatest blessing, not going back to WWE, because I have been part of my son's life every day for the last 15 months. And you can't get that time back.
No. And
so I wouldn't change it for anything. I've been able to be there for him every step of the way and watch him grow up. And at the end of the day, I can always get a job, but you can't always be there to watch your kids grow up.
If he grows up and asks you why you left the WWE, what would you say?
I would be honest with him. I would tell him the truth, and that because I became a mom, and like hopefully at that point in time, we will have progressed as a society and things will be different. And I think that he would be proud of me for speaking up on it and like not being small and just speaking my truth. I think he would be proud of it.
I think so too. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Before we go, where
Man, now guys, that's the full interview. Make sure you hit the like button. But today's live stream comment question is, do you think WWE gonna bring Carmella back? Do you think she'll be back in WWE? Or do you think this interview might have sealed her fate and it's just a matter of time before they chop Corey Graves too? So let's take it to the comment section, guys. Like, share, and don't subscribe if you're not a wrestling fan. You got to be a wrestling fan to subscribe. All right, guys. See y'all later.
This is a wreck. He's moving like an uncaged animal.
No lie, he's wild in there.